And good afternoon. It's really with Spirit of Matter here with Cancer February horoscope for Ascendant, Sun, Moon, and Stellium, which means a bunch of planets in Cancer. And this is no longer Jupiter Day. We are already in the night of Luna and the hour of Luna. Ascendant is actually ruled by the sun, with the sun in the seventh house as per the chart of the recording, and the moon in Libra in 27 degrees. Yes, ruler of the midheaven is Venus, and the midheaven is applying to Uranus. Venus is in 11 degrees Capricorn in the sixth house here. And just a little bit of a look at the skies, because this is evening already, and we can see what planets are accompanying us. Trying to find some names of planets that are accompanying us, and I'm using, yes, we have Cassiopeia, constellation rising, and we have Cepheus, which, yeah, we have Alderamine, which is probably the bright star there, but, and a little bit up if I can see what's up there. Oh, we are having H per se, and us probably, yeah, do we see Beta per se? We see Mirfak. Yeah. Another way to look and try to see what do I see that is rising now is look at the application of planetary times and look at the rising stars that are rising. So we have Alcyon, this is the N Tau that we've seen, Aldebaran, A Tau. We have Algol, which is the per se group, so we can already begin to honor, okay, the stars that are rising from in my skies, giving us the blessings of Algol. Okay, so shielding, protection, deflection of whichever, negativities sent our way. Is a very protective planet. Psychic protection. Okay. We also have Al-Qaeda rising, which is even about protection from assassination and beautiful stuff like that. So the deflection of the 22nd degree energies, anything bad sent towards us, we are deflecting that. And more Alpha, which is good for artistic skill and kind of like calming your enthusiasm when you're being overly scandalous, Arcturus, and so on. But I think what we saw right now was the Persei stars, Cassiopeia constellation, have Capella, and Deneb Algedi, which I don't think is visible from here. And we can go back to our little chart. So why did I name this video in the way that I named it? Okay. A commitment is the beginning, not the end of a relationship. This is probably not something that is not new. It's probably not something that is new to you, or probably not something that you cannot relate to. First of all, for Ascendant Cancer, Saturn rules your seventh house. Okay, so maturity, growing up, being kind of like the grown adult is something that you're not unfamiliar with. whether you're playing the role or your partner playing this role in your life. But now, all the bunch of planets that were stuffing your 7th house in Capricorn in January are one by one beginning to, bunch up and have a little party in your 8th house. And when I say commitment is the beginning and not the end of the relationship, I really mean commitment. Saturn is traditional. It's the ring. It's marriage. It's a legal arrangement, whether it's a business partnership or a relationship or marriage. And what happens when people just say, okay, will you marry me? Yes, good. You got married. Now, we're talking about, how about a 401ks? How about the life insurances? How do we raise our children? How do we save money for our children? What about all of our expenses? What about all of our energies blending in, okay? Whether you share housing, not share housings, if you're blending in, okay, what about all the things that happen after you said yes, okay? The psychological facet of being married or committed, okay, or taking the next step in your relationship. 8th house can also mean a child is being born. And for some of you, that is happening. And so this is where things get real and intimate and deep, and all of your lineages are having a say in what's going to be. Okay, so let's say you're getting married. Now you are at home, so let's say you're sharing a house together. Okay, getting married, and there are all kinds of sets of expectations from your family, from their family, or from you and them that is set in the ancestry. Oh, but in my household, we are used that the husband is cooking. You know that I'm not a big fan of cooking. Okay, I can cook every once in a while, but why is it different now that we are married? Okay, oh, but I was thinking after we get married, it's natural, and both of you might run into those things that they were there. It's not news, but you were swiping them under the rug, okay? And so everything that's bothered you is bothering you more, and now it's time to deal with that, okay? So you think about 8th house is also the house of birth, so a baby is born, and very real, okay, who is waking up, okay? What you said is going to happen versus what actually happens. Oh, I thought you're going to be waking up with me to every time the baby, cries. I thought that too, and then I realized how hard it is. Okay. I wasn't sleeping very much at night. I didn't think it would be a problem, but now it's like, I can't drag myself. Okay. Very, very practical things, but also things to do with the hidden facet. So the hidden facet might not be like taboo or betrayal, which is also a depth, okay? That depth you didn't know you have and stuff like that, which is also 8th house. But it can also be literally how your energies are blending, okay? You talk to, the people when they've been together for a while, that their mannerisms have changed. Something around their energy and their aura has changed. You see one partner and you see the other partner in the one partner, okay? This is 8th house. It's the blending of two into one. This is where a composite chart begins or has another phase of its evolution. When you talk about relationship, we have the chart of the partners, and then you have the synastry, how these charts interlay, okay? And then you have the composite, which is basically what happens when you two become one. What is the nature of this one-ship? There's a relationship and there is the one-ship. In the eighth house, there is a little bit of a more of a one-ship. We think as one, we feel as one, we are our energy as one, something incredibly intimate. And now we are getting, not only Pluto has ingressed again into your eighth house, so you're going to be oscillating tremendously when it comes to this department. It's also hidden the occult knowledge. You think about this. What is the occult knowledge? Okay, you date somebody, let's say in the fifth house. Then there are some duties. Okay, we'll have Valentine's Day. We have this in the sixth house. You gotta remember the birthday. Okay, and then let's say we committed, whether it's marriage or not. Okay, somewhere along the path, and it doesn't have to be romantic relationship. It could be just living together as friends or roommates. Somewhere along the path, your part, this is a real case that happened to me, okay? A person I shared housing with for quite some years was doing the laundry, and he heard a voice by me saying, no, you should boil it. You should raise the temperature. Okay, it was nothing, he was doing the laundry. He said, I heard like you telling me that. I wasn't aware, but it was the way that I was doing the laundry when I did it. So he was just like hearing a voice to do it the way that I do it when he's not around, okay? We weren't married, but we were good friends, and for a decade knowing each other, 5 years sharing a household. We just bought a new washing machine. And then there was a conversation we had with the landlord, and he said, yes, I hear my wife all the time, this thing called telepathy. I don't know what it is, but we talk to each other like this, okay? This is eighth house. And this is also where you start getting interested about these things. Okay, if it's on a more intimate level, I don't know, you have, you feel the sexual arousal of how your partner experiences the sexuality, where you're not either physically in the same room. It's like there's something interesting going on here. Now you start looking for what's that interesting thing. Then you have astral, then you have energy, then you have astrology, then you have projection, okay, that's psychology. You have all kinds of paradigms. And this is also the occult studies. So this is also how this house and the various significations of this house throughout the 2 decades of Pluto there is going to be completely transformed. Where am I in those places that I didn't know that I didn't know? Okay, but with the eighth house, some of you will be swiping under the rug. And you can see how sometimes all of the significations can come up. With Pluto, there can be a little bit of a crescendo around those significations. Okay, so this is a month where not only Pluto is already in your 8th, it happened in January, okay? We have a couple of months of September to November 2024, where it goes back to your 7th, and then 2 decades of Pluto in your 8th, okay? So it's out of your 7th for good, riddance, but it's into your 8th. And so, yes, it's a new form of power relations, okay? We can set the contract when we talk about commitment, okay? This is your responsibility. This is my responsibility. This is your finances. This is my finances, already beginning 8th house. But then there are hidden dynamics. You have your bank account, I have my bank account, but somehow our energies are intermixed in a certain way that interferes with our budget, good or bad. Okay, for example, we have good sex, both of us are making more money. We have not good sex, this is affecting our income. It's not so good, huh? Somebody has an affair, suddenly somebody out there is having a revelation with their life and so on. It's like, what the heck is, why not me? Okay? This is 8th house. And some of it is within our control, some of it's not. There's something that we knew was happening, we swept it under the rug, something goes into the 8th, poof, hey, I am the monster underneath your carpet. Underneath, there's a lot of wealth, okay? That being said, because we've been swiping this under the rug, there's a lot of unveiling to do. February is packed with just that type of tending to things. And so, one by one, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Sun is already there. It's already there. Okay? It's there, it's visible. It's creating some, when the sun is in such a house, it's shedding, like somebody puts a spotlight on that place, which you didn't know, you didn't know. It's the 12th, as you didn't know, you didn't know. Somebody puts a spotlight about all the junk you have under the carpet. Okay? When I had someone in my 8th, they were like showing me all the little ways in which I have like these little dirty habits. Like, you gotta get rid of that addiction, you gotta get rid of that addiction. Then I started to clean my house and to do this and to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like things are happening. The whole occultistic and holistic aspect of this happening. There was a little bit of a world war, or even a country is, sued for genocide. And all the time I'm cleaning fungal things in my toenail and athlete food and stuff like that. I didn't find a fungi in Gaza. So Sun in your 8th house is those little embarrassments that we all don't tend to until we do. And this is ongoing. You begin the month with that already active. Okay, February 5, Mercury joins the party. Now, when Mercury joins the party, it's a little bit of difficult because Sun is ruling your 6th house. So it can be like an enemy try to get at your budget, or your pet. I don't know. You make love with your wife. Your pet is coming. It's like, okay, what are we supposed to do now? We're not zoophilia, stuff like that. How are we supposed to behave with that? Okay. 6th house can also be your duties coming in. Okay. Oh, there's this baby coming. Okay, and then I have to buy this, and I have to buy that, and I have to make a life insurance for the cradle of the, I don't know, stuff like that. Or marriage, okay? We have to, did you buy insurance for the ring? Insurance for the what? Well, you're going to spend so much money on the ring you buy, as well insure it. There's also that expense. Do we want to? Okay? All these things you didn't even think about that are to do with what you need to do in service of something. Where is the sun natally for you is going to matter. If your sun in Cancer, then you're honoring yourself and you have to pay a duty to yourself, okay? Or you're a little bit of your own enemy because 6th house is open enemy. No, 2nd house. Sorry, Leo is 2nd house. Why am I getting flip here? Sun is ruling your 2nd house, so expenses, but why the 6th? 6th house is Sagittarius for you, which is in the 11th house. Sun just, oh well. No. So we are going to have, just scrapped all that I said about the 6th house here. It's more like the 2nd house, okay? Spending money on that commitment, partnership, or if God forbid it's like an enmity, then, I don't know, settling what you need to settle. But this is you, Sun spending money. Mercury comes in, and Mercury is ruling your 12th house, which is more like hidden things that you didn't know, people that are like hidden enemies, but it's also ruling the bedroom, okay? So it can also be lovers, or it can also be the bedroom relation with like your significant other, okay? Or your dream state, okay? If it's like a business partner, you're going into like more the contractual part, the long-term meaning of this business partnership. It can accompany your dream. This can also be a 12th house. It doesn't have to be something big. And your 3rd house. Okay, so third house, your car. Are we going to have two cars? Mercury also rules two or one. Okay, we're going to have two cars. We're going to have one car. It's ruling your daily routines. Third house is also the bathroom, like the literal bathroom house. And that means, how are we going to decorate the bathroom? How much money are we going to put into that? If you're moving in together, your neighbors and siblings, okay, are they going to, let's say if you live in a village, are your neighbors expected to contribute to your ceremonies, or whether it's birth, or whether it's a partnership, relationship, marriage, or when it comes to your siblings, okay? Are they putting in money, not putting in money? What is the costumes? If you come from different cultures, that can also be affecting the theme. Yes. And what else is there for you with Mercury? So, of course, Mercury. Yes, Mercury is the classic, prenuptials. But here, if it's like you already had marriage, okay, you already had commitment. Mercury, yes, it's the 8th house in terms of if you are committed right now with this ingress, is likely not the prenuptial, but more like a life insurance, your will, changing up your will. There's something transforming there. And it's affected by both what you didn't know that you didn't know. It can be even hidden wealth that you discover about. 12th house is also hidden wealth. It's not just losses and trauma. It is losses and trauma, but it's also hidden wealth. If you have addictions, because it's also 8th house, so how you are undermining yourself, they're going to make themselves apparent, okay? It's going to be transforming you in a certain way. Mercury is the childlike curiosity. Mercury is technology. Mercury is, contracts, we said, words that you say. Oh my God, words that you say. And again, so there can be all kinds of things, because Gemini is 12th house for you. You could be, for example, depending on your natal Mercury, you could be saying something and you meant one thing and you said another, or you said something that you weren't even aware how this word is like perceived, or something like just something unaware. So a word can kind of like stir up, or it can be something that your partner says in the bedroom, some word, okay, stuff like that, and you're like, ee. Okay, damn. It can be something very simple, like, I don't know, the partner tries to dirty talk to you, I don't like that. You said you like dirty talk, not that word, not that word. Okay, it can be something like that. Mercury is also jokes and humor and taking things lightly, so you have an air sign for 12th house. And an adaptable one, so maybe that's has some benefits. And it also rules your 3rd house, which is a mutable earth sign, is Virgo. And this is where, again, the car insurance, the car broke. You need to change the car, or the ruler is in your 9th house. You might be thinking to, so how do we travel as partners or as family? What do we need for transportation? So that has to change. Okay, it could be something as simple as your driving license has to be international, because the ruler Saturn is in your 9th house. It's worldviews, but it's also traveling abroad. It's also if you want to study in academia. So let's say you just got, like, will you marry me? Yes. Oh, I'm also starting a degree. Okay. How many loans do we have together? Okay, which one you take upon you? Which one I take upon me? Well, you're studying a degree to be a doctor. I can take that loan. on us, granted that you're going to pay your studies quite easily, and you're going to be also supporting me later, so it's going to be for our child or just something like that. Okay, so those are all conversations, trying to get at all the options that can be here. Those are all conversations that you're having with just this Mercury. Now, because it's meeting Pluto, it's going to be wildly transformed. It is the nuclei of something, air sign. I very much suspect it can be a single word in a contract that you didn't know that what it means, or it has other meanings, or that its meaning is transformed. So you want to be re-examining your prenuptial, even though it's not a retrograde. You want to be re-examining your prenuptials. You want to be, if it's like more intimate life related, and you want to make sure that your communication, okay, something needs to be transformed due to something, okay? Just this transit of Pluto from the 7th, the open sex that we have, that is also happening in the bedroom 12, to the energy sex that you have, okay? There's another set of conversations. Hey, this I like when you do energetically. Hey, this I don't like when you do energetically, okay? And so it can be, both Pluto and Mercury are the gates between worlds. And so when you talk about the 8th house, it can simply be that, okay? So let's talk about our astral life. Okay, does that consider sex for you? Does not consider sex for you. You have something that one person presupposes, and you are this person because this is your 12th house. You presupposed something, but then your partner comes up and says, no, that's cheating. Okay, but I don't even control that. Okay, we're going to have to look into that and see how does it, come about. You could be like completely, with Cancer ascendant, depending when your moon is, you can be completely monogamous, totally devoted, but you're like, yes, of course I'm watching porn. Everybody's watching porn. It's like, no, that's cheating. What? Okay? And that never came about until they saw something and you cleaned the bedroom, okay? And then, you were supposed to go on a trip. You cleaned the bedroom because you're picking up some clothes and, some, I don't know, it cannot be some magazine because like you really have to be very particular, kind of like an antiquity porn. But it's just something is discovered. You're using some sex toy because it's technology. Okay, it's like, you're masturbating. Yeah, of course, everybody does it. But this is and then you have to have a conversation that you, because it's your 12th, didn't think you are going to even need to have. This is why the Mercury ingress of the bunch is probably the most annoying for you. Okay, you didn't even think you're going to be having this conversation. Now, all of a sudden, it's a big deal. Mercury rules small things, mind you, okay? Something you didn't know that you didn't know, it's either a word, a technology, it's an item or something, a concept, or just something, or even a visual that you didn't even think there's an issue. Now it's becoming a big deal, and something's going to be needing transformation from the core, okay? And again, it's a small thing eventually, okay? But when you tend to that, it's going to be transforming you big time. And probably in a benefic way. Pluto is wealth. 12th house is hidden wealth, okay? So that is something you want to be looking at. It can also be like the type of hotels you like to go to, because 12th house is also hotels. You want to go on a vacation with your partner. Okay, ruler of your 7th and 8th in your 9th. You're definitely changing up your worldview, starting a degree, finishing a degree. If you are teaching, then your intimate lives are very much affected by that. And you could be teaching something academic, or even occultist, because it's the ruler of the 8th, at least at this time. And if you're traveling, okay, then you probably are traveling with a significant other. And this is a completely different type of traveling. So there are places maybe you stayed, I don't know, some hostel, some place in the city. And your partner's like, I can't breathe in the city. I don't feel safe around here, and now you have to spend way more money than you thought you're going to have to spend. These are very typical things that can happen upon this ingress. Next up, we have Mars. Mars. So Mars is going to ingress on February. Oh, and of course for Mercury, February 23, it already is in your 9th house. This is where basically it's not like something you have with your intimate partner. It's more like in your teaching, you can undermine yourself with words. It's not new to you. Wherever your Mercury is, you know that you can undermine yourself with what comes out of your mouth. And it's not something new to you. So the more you're aware of this, the more you can take accountability of this tendency that you have. And you might be met with more compassion, but because Saturn is in Pisces, it can either mean that if you've always been received with compassion, now you're going to have to take a little bit more accountability, or change something structurally in your teaching relations. Okay, Saturn structure, Pluto transformation, and 9th house. Okay, teaching or studying relations. But if you've always been very hard on yourself, or always undermined yourself with words, and people looked at you in a different way, maybe now you actually get, this accumulation of you taking accountability, becoming aware. Both you are more in control of what you say, and you are now received more compassionately. Okay, so you're being understood better, and these things that happen to you with communication is being more well received, especially if it's around like an academic setting, or when you travel. It's like intercultural. You know how to present yourself better, and so on and so forth. And yes, because Mercury also rules the bedroom, that you might be uncancelled, but you can also be in a situation where you are cancelled. Okay, so if you previously have not been cancelled, okay, the Me Too skipped over you, then you could be a little bit cancelled. You could be a little bit more in the spotlight, but again, with authenticity, taking accountability, and Gemini is this maverick of framing. You will have to tend to that, but all in all, there is the potential for compassion here. But if you've been the type of person that everybody did that, but you got slacked for it, okay, then this can also be a time where they cut you some slack. Okay, they do accept you a little bit more. Okay, you're being re-included after being cancelled or stuff like that. If you've been seriously cancelled, this is where you can actually attend to that, because Mercury and Pluto are doing this thing in your 8th house. You swipe it under the rug. Now you're addressing this, and you're also being received with compassion. Hopefully, now next up is Mars. February 13. Mars is ingressing Aquarius and meeting with Pluto. Now we gotta check what is Mars for you, because Mars rules your 10th house, and it also rules your 5th house. Because the 8th house is usually what you have with a significant other, and because after the Pluto transit of since 2008 in your 8th house, it's highly unlikely that if you are single, you probably know what you're doing. Or unless you're going to meet someone in September, it's going to be like a culmination of the entire transit. If you are partnered up, it's very likely that this one is, unless it's going to suddenly end, it is very likely that this is the way things are going to stick. The outer planet has said its word. It has been a journey. And so what I'm not concerned about is you suddenly getting divorced or you're suddenly getting married, this being not the right partner for you and stuff like that, okay? I'm not saying it cannot be, there's still another Mercury in the Capricorn, but I think it's pretty much you know where you stand in terms of your marital status. If you're doing business, whether you do that alone or with a partner, you know where you stand in this place in your life, more or less. And so when the ruler of your fifth house, okay, romance or children, comes, it can also be that you already have children, comes in, and the ruler of like you being a boss or your boss comes in, it's highly unlikely that right now your boss is trying to sexually harass you, or you are a boss that's trying to have an affair. It's also doesn't, it's not denoted here, okay? It's like not like the sixth house is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in your 11th, yes, but yes, Venus is in your 7th. Okay. We have a lot of bloopers with this. I don't know. I mean, it was Luna. So this is a fun one. But, you know, hopefully this is not the case, yes? But this thing is that this is where, you know, because of the presence of Pluto, I'm not so concerned about, unless you have all, you know, if by now you haven't gotten to tend to that. So definitely with Pluto in your 8th house, you will. But I believe that this is kind of like not that much worry, more so that your career is fun. Your career is accommodating for, I don't know, your children, whether it's life insurance, their studies and stuff like that. And now Mars is transformed because you get to the actual reality. Let's say you have, I don't know, military career. Now with the moon in Aries at the time of the ingress, okay? So you have a military career. And it provides for you, and you have your insurance for the kids, your kids have free education. Okay? Something happens, your child, just ruled by Mars, wants to cash in because they want to travel abroad or they want to start a degree. And now you find out what the actual reality is. Whether it's documentation, it applies for some universities, but not others. They can travel to some places. Yes, your child can withdraw money, they can travel, but because you have a security position, they cannot travel to this, that land, okay? And like, so where can they travel to? Well, around the neighborhood, if they keep it safe. So, because Saturn is also restrictions, okay? But it's not only restrictions, it's also incarnation. Yes. When Saturn was squaring my Saturn, I have natal Saturn in the night, I was traveling. Homeless traveling. You're just kind of like, this is your karma, you need to take that flight. Okay, it was that intense. I didn't see it coming because I was like, oh, I traveled before in my life. I did a degree, I did another one, almost finished that one. Okay, but you need to be traveling. You need to be seeing the world a little bit more. And so this could be the case for you or your child. And now you see the reality. What is the actual, what are the restrictions around this? Okay, practicality. And this is how something is transformed. This transforms either your boss, your child, the relationship between you and your child, you and your career, your public reputation, in some way. And again, you know, usually they denote a scandal, but here, if there was something that you dragged all that long and Me Too skipped on you, then you might discover that it hadn't skipped on you, in which case, again, your bedroom is ruled by Mercury, it's an air sign, it's immutable, it's a small detail, a small word, something that you said, depending on where Mercury, you could have like Mercury, Mars, or something. Um, but the more accountability that you take, and the more you understand, yes, this is a problem for me. Here is how I'm tending to this problem. The more you can actually gain authenticity and even gain wealth. Wealth is not just the money in your pocket. It's also your reputation. It's also your integrity with yourself is wealth. Um, your own relationships improve as well. So, okay, it's a crisis that can contribute. But if in most cases, granted, this is not the case for you, what I think is more that what you do for fun and what you do for a job is ruled by the same ruler. This ruler is Mars. It's something active. And your job has to be fun, or you're going to be spending. Okay, you're going to be getting into debt, you're going to be needing a loan, you're going to be financial shortages. Your career has to be fun. Bringing your child spirit into your career. And now, if you haven't been doing that up until now, you're going to find out what the cost of not doing that. Also, if you have been sacrificing having children for the sake of your career, I know that the fifth house is actually in conjunct, and there are some sort of sacrifices that we make. One way or the other, to be more with the children, to be more in the career. It's very difficult to balance when it's a 150 degree. Again, depending on the rulers, that can be easier. But when it's the same one, okay, then you understand what the actual meaning of this sacrifice, and then it can change up your actions. If you've been a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, then and now Mars comes into your 8th house and you realize, I've been a stay-at-home mom, been a stay-at-home dad, but there are so many things I want for my child that perhaps if I sacrificed a little bit of the time I have with them, I would both be more present with them and I would have more money to buy them what I want. Okay? And this can, this can be the issue for you. Or the other way around, I've been a career person or a career woman. Okay? But I haven't dedicated too much time for my leisure activities or for my children or for romance. There's also romance, right? And so what happens is that I'm high achieving, but I have these addictions that cause me to be in debt. Okay, you're a chain smoker or, all kinds of things small things that could get you in debt. And so, yes, I need to be creative. I need to be doing something for fun. And then you find out that this enriches your career because it's the same ruler. So yes, there's going to be some sort of a sacrifice because it's the 150 degrees, but it's also the same ruler. One of these scenarios, or a couple of them, are going to strike the 8th house. It's very likely to be about your financial position, your investment portfolio, your wins and losses on that field. It can be because the 5th house is like romance and stuff, and 10th house is career. If you've been the kind of person who has been effing around with people that are, that you are the boss of, this can catch up to you, and of course it's going to cost you. Yes, but not just money, it's also wealth. But again, even if that is the case, okay, granted you're not like a serial rapist, you're not like a Bill Clinton or something like this, as the other option. So granted that it's not something like that, it's very likely that you're tending to it so that you can grow and overcome it. And then Pluto is going to be spending 2 decades in this 8th house. So you're going to be having time to deal with what this synodic cycle basically opens for you. Okay? And another thing is that this is an opening of a synodic cycle. There's a new issue coming up. and it's affecting whether it's your relationship with your children or the romance, even if you're married, okay? But by now, probably if you're married, you know you're married. If you're single, you're like, I'm single, okay? Unless something happens in September, it's probably what it's going to be. And so this is, you know, but still when it comes to your 5th house, there's a new beginning there. And it's shocking, okay? It's shocking, and it's also shocking because like you don't really know what's coming, and you know that when it's coming, it's kind of like, it's not surprising, but it's overwhelming because you need to tend to that. You've swiped this under the rug. So yeah, that is something that you're going to be dealing with. Again, Mars is not ruling your 12th house. It is ruling your reputation. It's going through transformation, but it's also meaning that you understand your job, career, and your public reputation, how you present yourself, has to be fun, has to be connected with leisure, has to be, if you have children, I'm probably talking about them a lot, has to be joyous, okay? You need to be taking risks with your public image a little bit. Otherwise, this stagnation is affecting both the intimate life with your partner, your debt, and this is evergreen teaching for you, okay? We're talking about rulerships, your natal chart. And so, and your fertility, okay? And so fertility is not only when you want to have children, it's when you have a creative project, when you want to increase your energy to go up the next level at work, and so on and so forth. I think I have said enough about Mars. Next up is Venus. Now, before Venus ingresses this February 16, she will also, at February 7, square the nodes from your 7th house. So what does it mean for you? Venus is ruling your 11th house of your dreams and goals, but also kind of like your social networking and allies there or anti-allies there. Your viewers, if you have like a podcast. So this would be 11th house. And is ruling, with Libra for you is your 4th house. Ketu is in your 4th house right now, transiting, because Venus is ruling Ketu in Libra as well. Libra is ruling Ketu, and right now the moon. And so when Venus does something with the nodes, there is a fated event. Where is Venus? In your 7th. Okay, so how do your one-to-one partnership relate to you as a public image, or your dreams and goals, and your very housing, or your upbringing, or relationship with one of your parents? So it can be something that one of your parents is connected with your partner in a certain way, and you talk about this like in a podcast, or it can be one of your viewers, I don't know, is commenting something that on something that you said about your partner, or it's kind of like your viewers connecting with your upbringing, or one of your parents, or household. And Venus, if you are having a female spouse, this can also be another significator of the spouse. So the aspect, the Saturnian aspect of your spouse versus the more pleasure, leisure, connection-y aspect of your spouse are connected into some sort of a fated crisis. Whereas the crisis is between your 4th house, where Ketu is, you're releasing something there, and your 10th house, okay, a public reputation, okay, there is a little embarrassment to do with women, okay, nothing necessarily big, okay, the world is not lost. Like I said, when it's your 7th house, you know, the plot has been there. It's like you've been there, done that. But there's a little bit of an embarrassment. And it's a bit of a public embarrassment. What is it? Well, it has to do with, well, where is Saturn? Saturn is in the 9th house. So it has to do with a vacation. It has to do, maybe you are, let's say you're traveling with your partner and one of your viewers comes in and they talk to your partner and you're like, they're having an awkward conversation. Okay, so that can be, and so it's just a little bit of a fated embarrassment. Just the situation. Again, I don't predict this to be overwhelming. It's just like, it's going to happen. The next thing we have is Venus ingressing to your 8th house. Venus ingressing to your 8th house. So again, it's happening every 2 and something years or so. Venus is scheduled to meet you with all the embarrassments you have. Anyway, you've been embarrassing yourself on social media, on your podcasts, on your I have moon cancer. On your at home, okay, and you haven't dealt with that. Now is the time. Okay, you're scheduled to do so. So if you are, let's say, having a female spouse, now we get in, it could be the way that your spouse has been doing that. Okay, anyway, your spouse has been leaking information. Okay, about you on social media. She could say, "Oh, my wife is so, my wife is so, my wife is so." We haven't talked about this one. I don't want you to say that. Okay, and that can also be an issue. Okay, this can also be an issue for you. You have to remember that Uranus is in Venus sign in your 11th. So you know what Uranus is? It's rebellious, but it's innovator. Uranus shakes you up so that you loosen up and be something. Now, if you're 11th, if you have a dream or a goal that you haven't been following through, either you're going to get a viewer or you're going to get some, a colleague, or you're going to get your very spouse poking you. It's like, you're going to do that. You're going to do that. It's like, I don't know. I don't this, I don't that, I don't that. Then oh, did you hear about my husband is going to give a lecture on this and that? You haven't even yes to say this topic, but they've decided that you're going to do it and they schedule up a meeting for you and they have all the lineup done. Okay, somebody is nudging you to be, and to be where you dream to be. Okay, to be what you dream to be. Venus is about being. Uranus is about, like, the Kundalini rise is kind of like, I am that. Okay, when Uranus ingressed to Taurus for me, it's my 3rd house. I'm an astrologer, and I came from academia. Okay, he's one of my favorite lecturers, Professor probably Avisegal, not a Me Too case that I know of. So one of his opening lines, where everybody know that, for example, physics is a science, but astrology is not. Okay, and so I loved him. And when he heard I'm doing philosophy of science, he was like, "Oh my God, you remind me of their side," and so on and so forth. But imagine what is like. I'm an astrologer. Okay. After that, so it's getting you. People have a sensitivity by saying getting out of the closet, and I get that because people's lives are at risk. But the thing is that whatever dreams that you have been burying under a rock, very Saturn, okay, the rock explodes and all you have left with is to be the dream. So it's time for you, okay? And there are going to be all kinds of embarrassments to do with that because it's Uranus and Venus is kind of like traveling your 8th house right now. So let's say I have a moon in Cancer, the 8th house from my moon. 8th house from my moon is actually in the 5th house. I don't know. My weird astral life? Probably. Hidden emotions? I don't know. Oh, they don't know it's energy. It's psychology stuff to do with my childhood and stuff like that. Yes. That's been out. Okay. So Venus traveling in your 8th house is probably about such embarrassments. But she is ruling Uranus, and eventually and essentially it's about liberating you, tending to what you've been swiping under. What is keeping you from being what you dream to be? It's being your dream. If you have a dream or a goal, you are it. Okay, this is the meaning of Venus. Venus is about being. Taurus is about being. It's not about doing. Your career is about doing. Your dreams are about being. Okay, you are. You take, embody that. You are your dream. If you are a writer, you are not writing. You are a writer. If it is, what you got up there in the tent. If you're a military person, you're not serving in the military. You are that person. Okay? You are a warrior. You strip everything external, which is essentially Taurus as well. It's on the axis of Scorpio, which is also your 5th. Strip you anything, stripping you of your titles, your goal and dream. Why are you doing that? Okay? I'm a warrior. What do you mean, why am I doing it? I am a warrior. Okay? So, whatever is happening with Venus in your 8th house is aiding you in tending to your energy blocks that's been keeping you from being, not from saying that you are, from being that which you are. And it can have to do with your career because the I amness, the Aries, is your 10th. That it depends, of course, where your midheaven is and so on. But your dream, whatever your dreams and goals, whether it's a social agenda, whether it's, Venus, it can be, whether it's, I don't know, maybe you just want to accumulate a lot of assets. I am a millionaire, but I think it's more than that with you. And so you are not just about doing something, what you do. Oh, this is what I do for a living, then I am this, which is your career, is all well. But you have a dream, you become the dream, okay? In a very physical way. You're physically that dream. You become it, okay? Needless to say, if you have a passion for someone and if someone is a woman, then you embody that. But that is also just a part of this. So this is February 16th. Of course, this Venus is meeting Pluto. I think we already talked about this, right? It's the becoming, it's the birthing of the you that is your dreams and goals, okay? Now, because Venus is also the spouse, if your spouse is a woman, then you want to make sure that you are not like becoming her in a certain way where like the boundaries, because 8th house is kind of like the boundaries. So there is your dreams and there is her dreams, and you want to make sure that the being there, Uranus will take care of that. If not, Pluto definitely will. But you want to tend to like, am I becoming my dream? Am I becoming her dream? Am I becoming her? And sometimes it fits, like when you have life paths that are, you know, each person is becoming the other. There is some stuff like that. It fits, but other times it's kind of like, oh, well, is it what's supposed to be? Again, because Pluto has been so much in your seventh, I'm not so worried. It's more the Uranus that still has a way to go up in your 11th. It has some dreams to kind of like loosen up there, so that you can be that which you dream. So, talked about the ingresses. Sol ingress into your 9th house on February 19. And well, first of all, I should introduce this as Sol is leaving your 8th house February 19. You're going to be relieved because, you know, it's the biggest spotlight, the central spotlight of the galaxy on that which you've swiped under the rug. Okay? Of course, you're counting the moments for it to move on somewhere else. Okay? And Sun, yes, she's ruling your 2nd house. And so, Sun ruling your 2nd house, this is more, you're spending money on a vacation, you're spending money on education. If you're a teacher of some sorts, then maybe you're traveling to lecture in a conference. Okay? You could be taking a boat like a loan to get to a place where you're supposed to make money from teaching something as well. It's kind of like the combination of these. You definitely, your values and your philosophy of life begin to align, okay? And this is something that hasn't been happening since the last time Sol was in Pisces. So Pisces season for you is where your values, as well as how I make my money, how I spend my money, begin to align with your worldview. You see, what the heck is that? Okay, your values, again, how I make my money, how I spend my money. Okay, so you put your money, not where your mouth is necessarily, but definitely where your mind is. It can be buying a course, it can be also selling a course, but it can also mean that, let's say, you know, I constantly say this, you really should be investing in art design. I'm planning to buy, you know, a painting for a while now, and I'm trying to look for the specific art that I want to buy. I gotta put my money. It's probably gonna happen when Mars is either hitting Scorpio or is going to return to kind of like my 2nd house, that I'm going to both have the money to do that and find the right thing that I want. I'm going to have my money, rule of my 2nd, where my mind is, where my philosophy. I'm not just say, oh, we should invest in art, but I'm going to put in my money into this. So Sol for you ingressing into the night is very much that. And it could be art for you, okay? Because some performance, something you philosophically believe in, you also spend money on. It can simply be buying a book of this philosopher, okay? But it can absolutely be way more than that. And you want to, because Pisces is Jupiter ruled, you want to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, the next thing the Sun is going to do there is going to open another synodic cycle with Saturn. Sun conjunct Saturn February 28. This is happening in your 9th. Now, a little bit of a more expanded reminder, Saturn in your 9th house is ruling your 7th, is ruling your 8th. Okay? Your significant other, business or marriage, is deeply affecting your lineage or theirs, deeply affecting your worldview, if it is a degree, if it is a religion or the lack of, if it is traveling or the lack of, okay? And so this is a time where the difficulty, the restriction, yes, but also the incarnation is coming very much from your partner. Whereas Jupiter in your 11th. So why is your partner being so Saturnian? Because they want you to be your dreams. Okay? And it's kind of like finding the balance of how to do this Saturn in a way that motivates you and inspires dedication in you, rather than, they want you so much to do that they block it. Actually, their desire for you to grow into that which you want to be, your dreams and goals, is actually blocking you. Okay, so you're both going to have to find the way to incarnate that in a way that's actually supportive for both of you. Especially for you, it's your golden dream, okay? So this is the Saturn in the 9. It's a reality check to your dreams that is coming from both your colleagues and associates, okay? Viewers, if it's like, having a podcast or teaching or conferences. So those who attended these, and from your home, your upbringing, your elders, okay, one of your parents. There's pressure coming in, but it's pressure to basically make sure that you tend to your dreams and goals. Yes, hopefully it's not like a restriction on your dreams and goals. Hopefully it's not a restricting factor. Again, Pluto has been almost 2 decades in your 7th house. It's probably have taken away all those partnerships to no longer do you good. This is very likely, if not by September to November, it definitely will. And with Pluto, it will. Okay? So that is, something you want to be considering. When the Sun opens the synodic cycle with Saturn, again, how are you pricing yourself? And how are you investing in, let's say you have to give a lecture or you have to, your social networking, okay? Do you put your money there? Do you spend on that? Because in this case, you need to be doing that, okay? When it comes to your values, okay? But this is more your partner's values. Are they realistic? This is more, how your partner is both restricting but also incarnating something in your worldview, your very worldview. It's not, even if you're traveling, it's not just traveling, or degree, it's not just degrees, how you see the world. It's the house of God, or the lack of, okay? And so, the conjunction with the Sun and Saturn can be very restricting, and it can be very restricting to your shine. And this is where it's a reality check for the Sun itself, for your values, for are you pricing yourself correctly? Are you spending enough money, or are you spending too much money on these endeavors? But also, you shine the light. Oh, my partner, darling, you are being so restrictive that I cannot perform this task. This can also be a conversation where the reality check is on Saturn itself, because Saturn is receiving an update from the sun. You shed light on this restriction in your worldview. Okay? And so something new is happening. It's an uncomfortable beginning, but something new is happening there that sheds more light on those very intimate things that you're dealing with or that are coming from that significant other, and or others, and as well your values. Okay, so your very values are getting a reality check. With Sol, you could be kind of the Boolean. Okay, you want to be, fame can be, one of the good things about it is you can be very authentic, depending on how your sun is aspected, about your desire or your ability to be famous. Okay, we have the skill of royalty, basically. It's a skill of leadership. Okay, and now it's being put to test. In some way. It can be limiting, okay, but it can also be incarnating. For example, let's say you need to perform, you need to stand in front of a camera. Okay? When I give a lecture to my students, back when I was in academia, it's not the same as when I have to perform in front of camera. Yes? Many different things. If I have to put the camera in my face, I have to, be more focused. There's this thing standing in front of my face. It has to look natural. It's not the same expression as when, I screencast or something like this. There are many things to tend to. There are a certain level of fame where now you have to tend to these things. But on the upper side, it is because you are becoming your dream. So your skills are getting a reality check so that you can support the next level of uprising, okay? Again, you have to, every chart is individual, but this transit is supportive of you, even with embarrassments, even with bumps on the road, even with oscillations in kind of like your fluidity, money, depth, and stuff like that, really being your dreams. Yes, you already had Rahu in Taurus in your 11th. It has already been happening. Now, of course, it plays out to your public image, to your career. So things are going for you, okay? All in all, things are going for you. I'm not too worried about your situation. Again, every chart is individual. But this is more to do with the incarnation, okay? There is what we think success is, and this is what success actually is in practice. Now you are more at the what success is actually in practice. And you're dealing with the bumps in the roads. Okay. Now, before we're going to talk about the lunations, we have the hard aspects. Sun, Uranus. Yes, there is also the synodic cycle of Venus and Mars. Bear with me. Sun, Uranus square. Sun in your 8th house squaring Uranus in your 11th house. This is particularly annoying because the Sun is like the greatest spotlight of our galaxy. And it's in the house of what you've swiped under the rug. So now it's in your 11th. Okay? And this is where your petty little habits, okay, the background on your wall, let go of, is going to be very visible. Okay, until I did not shoot the pictures of my kittens, Or my plants, I did not notice that I have, where I live, where I rent, I have a floor that no matter how much I clean it, it looks dirty. Okay, this really is such a thing. Okay, this is a spotlight. It's like, but I'm cleaning this place. And I had some Soviet viewers, and they're like, "You have to clean the place. If you're not helping me to clean it, then don't say anything." Okay, so it could be something as simple as that. But because Saturn is in your ninth house, look. What is Saturn ninth house? Yes, what could be so embarrassing? So it can be something that you didn't know about, let's say wealth. Or something even hidden or occultistic that you didn't know about. Trying to give concrete example here. I don't know. When I started doing this podcast, every time I would talk about Rahu and Ketu, I have this tendency to get mixed. Now I think I know, but it took me a while until I would be confused between Rahu and Ketu. Okay, so every time I had to stop and I had to accept it. I say, well, I'm neurodivergent. It takes a while for me, and I make sure that this is Rahu or Ketu. You see these episodes if you watch them. Yes, because Aquarius is your 8th house, there can be a little bit of a neurodivergence. That you're getting like unusual activity of the brain that manifests itself or in your voice. I also have this, okay, my voice, you see, if I think about someone, immediately my mannerisms change. Like I transform into it. It's not like I try to do it or I imitate or no, I think I become. So I think therefore I am, but in a very peculiar way. And so it transforms my voice. So Uranus, Venus is something unusual about my voice. Here it can be something unusual about your voice that is because of your neurodivergence. And so it can be quite similar to, although I have moon in Cancer, and this would be like from my moon somehow. Moon is connected with memory. It's indirectly connected with speech because it's like emotions and like it's one of the eyes, but whatever. And so it can be something like that, okay? That suddenly is visible. Or it can be like, you rented a place and the tiles are always looking dirty even when you do clean. Or you didn't notice that one spot behind your wall, or it's something about your space as well. What else can be nervous system related? What else, Aquarius? Some awkwardness that you have about you that is kind of like usually is more expressing itself in the one-to-one relations because it's 8th house, like very intimate. But now it's suddenly showing up. Okay, so it's not a big deal, but it's not so much in your control. And this transit is going to show this. Okay. Again, not a big deal. It's ruling your 2nd house. So it's either something you spend your money on, it's right behind you in the screen or in the space. And it can be, or maybe you are this person who is talking about, I don't know, social agendas and equity, how we should all, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And then you have a picture behind you of, I don't know, a golden Buddha. Or a statue of a golden Buddha. I mean, something you spent your money on. It's present there. You're painting, stuff like that. And so that can be like, well, yes, that's my guilty pleasure. But this is it. And it's a bit at odds with this Uranus, okay? So it's a square, it's a friction. It's a dissonance. So this is the Sun. It's a closing cycle before we talk about the lunation. Yes, there's also lunation in your 8th house. Good luck, good luck. And Mercury square Jupiter. So Mercury square Jupiter, Mercury is again in your 8th house by then, squaring Jupiter in your 11th. You could be served. Okay, it's not like a Saturn transit, but because Mercury is kind of like contracts, money, exchanges, trade, and so Jupiter square is kind of like, oh, there's the theory applied in practice and the difficulties. Okay, going from theory to practice. You talk about something publicly, and here is a teaching that you have, or even that your partner has, because this, presence of Saturn in your ninth, and now, Mercury is ruling your 12th and 3rd, and when it applies to like your intimate life, or you talk about, let's say you talk about trade, you have an idea and this and that, and you try to apply on your idea, and lo and behold, you already said it publicly, but you try to apply it, and it doesn't really work that way. Okay, so there's a big embarrassment, but Mercury is also expenses. You could be, having to pay some money, or you are served, okay, in some way, and then you have to, fix some mistakes and pay some fines. And this is because of the gap between praxis and theory, what you believe and what you didn't know, what you believe and your daily habits. That's that. For example, I have second house Aries. I believe that if there is a crisis financially, I should increase my expenses, because Aries is about innovation. In praxis, Chiron is in Aries, and I have been unable to work for a very long time. So this is just one of these things, Mercury square Uranus, this is where money is going to fly out of the pocket, again from the 8th house to 11th. Getting in debt to fund a website to support your services or courses, okay? Sudden, unexpected, say something costs more, you have to renew something. You have debt to a company that you pay to do the digital services for, like a podcast, for digital courses, or courses system, okay? Something's gonna come up. It can also be some gain, yes? It's unexpected, but there's a friction, there's a crisis going on with this. And what I teach about these things is that it's not about, oh, you want to be aware of it and not spend so much money. Uranus is unexpected things. You want to be aware of this, and when there are the days that you can not spend so much money, don't spend so much money, so that you can leave some, because there's another wave coming. This is how I treat it, okay? And so instead of trying to go against nature, it's like, how can I leverage myself to match nature's waves? And so if it is, I don't know, if it was like a diet, then I would tell you, okay, instead of thinking about cheat days, how about we look at the chart and see where are the days where you're going to have, like a Venus square Jupiter, which we have this month, which you might be wanting to eat more sweets. So speaking about Venus, so Venus is going to square Chiron. I did not speak about this in other signs, but February 5, Venus is going to square Chiron when Mercury ingresses to your 8th house. Chiron in your 10th, Venus in your 7th. There's a little bit of an ouchie there. Again, not the end of the world. It just touches on some sort of wound or on your autonomy in your career. Okay? If this is coming from a spouse or coming from a colleague, this is a little bit of a crisis. You're going to have to set boundaries. Yeah, and Mars is also in your 7th. So there's a little bit of overstepping of the I amness, and it can be something unintentional, but you also have to make sure that you did not overstep, because this is like your partner. If you have been overstepping boundaries, and it can be accidentally at this point, then your partner could be like asserting themselves. And this touches a little bit of a core wound of autonomy with you, but you have to understand that you have not been granting this autonomy, probably because of this Chiron in your 10th house. So whatever comes at you from your partner, again, I could be wrong, but try to see how do you tend to that in a way that takes into account the fact that you have been acting out of a wound, overstepping a boundary, and then they had to assert themselves, which inevitably hurted your autonomy as you perceive it, or as it is even, because they had to take their power back in some sort of a way. Okay, it's not a Pluto thing, but Mars is about boundaries, it's about the I am. A square to that from Venus is somebody, okay, a colleague, a spouse, is overstepping their boundaries. But you also have to think, and again, I'm turning you to the 8th house, because it can be that you haven't overstepped physical boundaries, but in energies you have been in their energy, not because they summoned you, but because you have been there. Okay, and so if you have been in their energy, they have been you, and you know, and they've gotten to your energy, not because they summoned it, but because it happened. And you know, just like I mentioned earlier about, you know, the good friend I had telling me that they heard me telling them to do the laundry in this or that way. It's not something I consciously did. It's not something I talked to. Yeah, it's not even something I cared all that great deal about, but there was a certain interaction that was affecting our, you know, our life at a certain point. Okay, so you want to take energy into account, and the more authenticity you can have about that, the more you understand, you both can understand what is undermining your autonomy right now. And it's not undermining 12th house, it's undermining Chiron wise. And Chiron is about to conjunct with Rahu. So you're definitely about to find out what is undermining your authority. And this Mars is also coming from the 5th. So you don't think about your childhood or anything like that. And already I begin to feel like, oh, I shouldn't say anything more than that. But, you know, childhood related stuff, 5th house. I wouldn't even say romance, because 5th house, the first thing 5th house is you as a child. Okay? Your child, the first child, is the 5th house for you. So it shows up there. So you want to tend to that, you go to inner you, okay, to you as a child. And that is where I would look for answers. Yes, I don't know. Like I said, I have moon in Cancer. I have no idea what it actually means. But yes, it's interesting. So this is Venus Chiron, Venus nodes we talked about. Then she will trine Uranus on February 7th. When she squared the nodes, she trines Uranus. So it's kind of like a little bit of a comic relief. The tension and the relief. Venus will conjunct, I promise that we'll talk about this, conjunct Mars, February 22 in your 8th house. 6 degrees Aquarius. So Venus, Mars, 8th house, new cycle beginning. Hopefully it's not like your lover and your wife, because Venus is the spouse and Mars is for you the lover. Yes, but no, 8th house. Yes, if you are, if it's like a fertility journey, there can even be conception here. If there is, or bringing a child, okay, or birthing, conception, something can happen at around this time. And you know, it's around the conjunction, on the conjunction. Why? Because it's both of them are ruling your 5th house and your 4th house. So you're thinking about 4th house meeting 5th house. Yes, moving in with your romantic partner, or moving in with your lover, okay? Sex can increase the household. You have to you're taking this into account, okay? If you don't want to have children, then take extra precaution, because these are personal planets. It's not like a fated. So it's likely that that you can take precaution, okay? It's not like eclipse or something like that. You've had that. Ketu was in your 5th. So, but this, if you do want to have like children, increase the household, is possible. It can also be, if you have children, to take a loan. Maybe they're going through teenagehood and they want, you know, a room for their own. So to build another unit and stuff like that, you need to take a loan. That can be a new beginning in that sense. Okay, take money for that. But then the ruler of Mars is, the ruler of Mars and Venus here is in the 9th house. So it can also be your relationship with your children as a householder, transform your worldview a little bit. Okay, some conversations you have with your child, your wife and your child, your elders and your child, okay? Or it can be you're dating, if you're dating casually someone, you can bring them home. So now the things from the lineage are coming in, you know, it's kind of like the conversation, is that to show the parents' partner and so on. And that can actually be the start of a different type of commitment for you too. Okay, so you see how it's not happening in your 7th, but it's affecting the after marriage life, okay? And it's affecting the worldview. And if this date is about to be more than a date, yes, but this, I think it's more like already children that you already have by now, or having child. Yes, because in this situation, if you're married, you're probably married. If you're not married, probably not married. So, or it's like the sudden meeting of someone after you've dealt with all your power issues in relationships, or the power issues that arise in relationships, and this is like the culmination. Okay, now you meet someone, and they are showing something. Now, the moon here is still growing. Yes, the moon is still growing. So if something begins right now, yes, there's this T-square with Jupiter, but is resolved in the conjunction, because 10 degrees Scorpio, so where the resolution of the T-square is ruled by Mars, and Mars is with Venus. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's going to be a very big new beginning. You know, the T-square, Jupiter, Mars, and we also, you know, we'll be talking about the Jupiter, Mars as well. So there's a big new beginning, and there is something, it can also be big joy for you. It's not all bad. It can also be a big joy for you, and it's growing. And the sun, is in your ninth house. Who knows? Okay, every chart is different. I don't want to be the one encouraging you into toxic relationships. Yes, by now you have your own assessment, sovereignty of that. But I think that this can be the start of something big, literally the start of something big. That can also be, although filled with tension and stuff, but can be excitement and big joy for you that is lasting. This too happens, you know. They're also the type of people that met and they had a baby before they were married. So if this is for you, this can also be the case. Venupiter. So before we talk about, yes, okay, first Venupiter. Venus squares Jupiter. Venus comes first. All puns intended. Venus squares Jupiter. Very can be joyous. Venus can be Jupiter, squaring Jupiter on February 25. Well, because it's from the 8th house, it's a big embarrassment. They can be, this is where I would save some money too, okay? But you won't be regretting the results, very likely. So dedicate the time, save some money, allocate resources and money. And you know what, here, because it's Saturn ruled, save some time, money and time. Money and time for this thing. Because there is something nice going on. Yes, the moon is already releasing from the full moon when it perfects. But you know, before it perfects, the moon will be blooming into a full moon. Again, if this is conception, absolutely. You want to save money and time, you know. If this is birthing, absolutely, it can be. If this is just the start of something new that requires, it's the type of new beginning that you're gonna need life insurance for, not because, well, at least risky, of course, but because it's going to be enduring, it's going to last, okay? Again, I take the context, okay? The context was that Pluto was leaving your 7th house, so it's not like I'm talking about a person who hasn't had an outer planet going through and almost finishing through their 7th. I would have a completely different worldview if not for the context of the outer planet here. And this is important. If you are a very young person, less than 20, okay, before 24, which is the maturation of Venus, before 28, which is the maturation of Mars, Saturn is ruling your 7th house. It is a 28 years cycle and a 36 for maturation. It doesn't mean you won't have relationships. It just means you want to hold your horses when it comes to making big money decisions or marrying at 16 or something. I'm saying it cannot work. But definitely adjustments might be needed, and foundational adjustments or even endings when we reach those 24 maturation of Venus, 28 maturation of Mars. Definitely Saturn return, Saturn maturation, Saturn square, Saturn, okay? So that is if you're listening to me and you're like 16, 17, then it's not you. Okay, you really have to think about this, and this is not like don't take a mortgage to buy a house with your girlfriend just yet, but other than that, the after 30 Cancerians, that's more like it. It's also evergreen teaching. It's also why Cancerians take time to settle. They have Saturn for ruler of the 7th. What do you want? Now, yeah. Mars square Jupiter, 27th February. And yes, also from the 8th house to the 11th house. To the 8th house, because Venus is again in the 8th house. I don't know, this is something where, you know, what is being public for you there? Your teachings, your worldview is being is showcasting on more like a mass media thing. Okay, your teachings could go viral, and you know what happens when a teacher goes viral? Okay, or your teacher goes viral. Okay, people start to look at the, you know, if you go viral, start to look at the intimate relationships, their secrets, what are they hiding, and it can be a little bit of a tabloid kind of, especially with Mercury, kind of like in the 9th. Okay, it can be a little bit of a tabloid type of drama. The moon is decreasing. Okay, so I don't expect this to last. There can be a little bit of a scandal. You know, Mars Jupiter is known for a big dick energy. So I would say who I learned this from, but I kind of think it's weird to give credit for that. If you know, you know, and a shout out. So it kind of gives like, you know, so you could be having this big dick energy because Saturn rules your 10th and your 5th. So, or some woman or trans woman could be having this big dick, you know, trans woman having a big dick energy. This can be, you know, it's funny, it's hilarious, it's big, you cannot miss it. But it's not, it's going extinct, you know, you don't worry about it. If it's a scandal, it's going extinct. Hopefully it's not like a cancel or something. I don't think that's the case. But, you know, a little bit of drama. It's also big joy. So just know, it's so. Now, another thing about Mars, Jupiter, Mars is also a financial planet and is happening in your 8th house. Yes, hopefully you don't have to like settle a lawsuit or something like that, or you do not get canceled. Or, yeah, it can be, I don't think it is, but it's also kind of ruling your 10th house. It's possible. However, money is going to be changing hands. So again, Jupiter is not Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, eclipse nodes, okay? It's not that for you. But your world, Jupiter is really now, you are optimistic. And what happens when you are optimistic? Okay? You spend. It's a big purchase that you're making. Okay? And there's something public about this purchase. So it can be something as simple as you're purchasing, you're building a unit in your house for your child, and you're spending the money on it, and you're just passionately talking about this. So you're going to build this unit with your own hands, kind of like craftsmanship, and you're bragging about this. In the best of cases, that is the case. Is it the best of cases? Okay, but again, whatever it is, it's not going to like bother. It's not the beginning of a scandal. It's more like the culmination, the release of something, the closure of something, and the severing ties from these issues. So, yes. Lunations. We're gonna get to them. Now we're getting to them. Then February, new moon, yet again in your 8th house. So if your 7th house is packed in January, your 8th house is packed in February. And the new moon, 20 degrees Aquarius, is squaring that Uranus in your 11th. Okay? What's annoying for you is not like Gemini ascendant where they have, Taurus for a 12th house. What's annoying for you, you have a little bit of a touch, with like in the Mercury and stuff, coming from your 12th to the 8th. But what's annoying for you is that your 8th house is going so public. I want you to keep in mind that this is because you are getting ahead in life. Okay? Your problems are bigger because your success is bigger. This is it. You have Rahu in your 10th house. With Chiron, with this, with that, all wounds attached, you are getting ahead in life. Okay? Of course, the problems are bigger, more public. Okay? You went on a date with some woman and you were moody, I don't know, because your grandmother was sick, and then you met a fan, and then you're a bit grumpy, so now this fan had a bad experience with you. Okay, everything gets magnified because you are in a higher position. This is it. And so the conjoining of that is where everything that was swiped under the rug you have to deal with. Okay? If I think about what's my 8th, it's Libra. Well, I have Venus opposition Pluto, in my Venus in my 3rd house, Pluto in my 9th house. So I publicly deal with my like Libra stuff and my 12th house stuff as a process of radical self-acceptance and having publicly. It's a part of my journey, okay? But for you, it's like you are reaching success first and then going through 2 decades of tending to kind of like your intimate life, being either very intimate so that nobody sees them or very public. And I think about Beyonce. Why do you think about Beyonce? The Beyonce is actually having a Ketu on her, either 12th house or like her stellium of Libra. But when Beyonce began her career, okay, she was dating with Jay-Z. Nobody knew about it. Then they had 2 videos, and they were completely private. Then at a certain point, 2015, then she had Lemonade, and she was addressing Jay-Z cheating on her. So we were like having rumors here, rumor there, and then it was like she was exposing through her performances something very incredibly, and Jay-Z was also exposing that, something very incredibly intimate. So going from not saying a word about her relationship to talking about the betrayal that she experienced in the relationship. Okay, going very public about this. And then eventually, okay, if you think about when Blue Ivy was born, people were like, is she this, is she that? She said she was announcing her pregnancy, because it was also birthing. And then, today it's kind of like, yes, we know her family, her daughter is showing with her. She decides what she exposes from her marriage, what not, okay? And so in her case, she went through oscillations of what to expose from my marital life, what to expose from my 8th house. Yes. This would actually favor a Libra ascendant, by the way, because Uranus has been going through her 8th house since 2018. So considering divorce and all that and so on and so forth, and making music and the Renaissance thingy. So that would mean, or maybe making her marital life public, so unusual stuff to do with like, but I think, yeah, I don't know. because she does seem like a kind of a Scorpio ascendant. So I don't know. But the thing is that Pluto throughout the 20 years that's going through your 8th house, some similar journey you are beginning right now, because right now you are tending to your career, your public life. You're getting ahead in life. It started with Rahu in Taurus, you're getting your dreams manifested. Rahu in Aries, you get in a higher position in society, getting, known, publicly known, way more. Even if you were known, it's even more than before now. And now, everybody's gonna be all up in your grill, literally. And you're gonna have to go through the oscillations of wanting to keep everything private with an air, with Aquarius, 8th house, good luck. Expose everything, okay? And kind of finding the center point. This is a part of the general oscillation that Pluto is going to go through in this context. So this brand new beginning is involving the ruler of your ascendant, okay, Cancer, or Sun and Moon, and the ruler of your 2nd house. Values, how I make my money, how I spend my money. Okay, where in the 8th house, it's at odds with this Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus is modernly associated with Aquarius, okay? Yes, Saturn is ruling Aquarius. Even if we take the modern view, we cannot say Saturn is no longer ruling Aquarius, okay? We can. I don't think it holds water. But you can argue with me. I could be completely wrong and dogmatic. And so there is a good reason to consider that this presence of Uranus in your 11th house, in your public 11th house, is affecting, your 8th house experiences. There's good reason to believe that you're scattering energy very publicly in a way that you've been swiping under the rug. Okay? And with Venus, it can also be relational. So you have to consider things. Here is really you. It's you in your intimate relationships at odds with some sort of overall revolution happening in your public dreams and goals, something like that. But Venus, which is in Capricorn, is still in your 7th at this time, is releasing from a trine to that Uranus, okay? You are supported upon this new beginning, and this new beginning is a closing of the synodic cycle of the Sun and Moon with Uranus, okay? It's the last hardship on that Sun-Moon synodic cycle with Uranus. Okay, remember the 20 degrees new moon in Capricorn that was trining Uranus? Now we're having the square. And now when we are having the square, it's kind of like the last bump on the road. When it comes to the moon, when it comes to you, or when it comes to your values, it's the last bump on the road. But you do have the support of the ruler of Uranus. And it's in your partnership house, okay? One of your elders, or your spouse, if you have a female spouse, this Venus is also denoting of the spouse, or even one of your colleagues and your viewers could be supporting, could be speaking with your partner to actually support you on this, okay? What is beginning here is the question, because the beginning is in the 8th house. And again, yes, this can be conception, this can be birthing, very much so, especially with Venus, like in your, seventh. So it can be conception, can be birthing, and this can be, with Saturn in your ninth house. Maybe you have a course or a teaching about finances, investments, or some hidden occult stuff, maybe even to do with conception, because Sun, Moon, okay, is fertility also. It's the ruler of your ascendant, but your Moon is ruling, conception, fertility. Yes, granted that you're not like opening a restaurant, or it could be like having a cuisine. Yeah, but with the Sun Leo, maybe you're not. If you like to cook, you're more like, show. Oh, it can be, There are these cooks where you see they have make all this eroticized stuff with food. Maybe you do this. So that can be. At any case, you're gonna have to get comfortable. The last bump on the road is you're getting comfortable with your innermost, okay? It's not 12th innermost, but it is 8th innermost, which is very innermost self, being way more public than before. I want you to think really big, okay? When we are talking about, let's say, leaders, people write books about their upbringing and how it had affected their life, okay? Even astrologers, okay? If I take Yair Tribelski, he's an Israeli astrologer. He's of the Pluto Sol generation. And he would take a leader and he would take the natal chart, would look at Ma and Pa, okay, Sun and Moon, and see how did the relations between the mother and the father affected him as a leader, and so on. His thinking, his inner psychology is very penetrative to the inner psychology of a person, okay? And people in other generations are like, no, especially the Scorpios, like, this is too private, I don't like this, because they want to keep everything private. But Pluto Sol is like, no, the taboo is exposed and discussed. If you are a leader, of course, you should be agreeing to the. And now, when you are meeting this, I don't know, it doesn't matter even what Pluto generation are you. You are meeting all types of Pluto generations, for example. And they have all types of values. So some of them think, no, it is not okay to pick at somebody's intimate life. And some of them, no, this is an interesting person. He's a prominent figure that affects our consciousness. Of course, we should be aware of what affected their consciousness. If it's the upbringing, if it's the traumas, if it's ancestral stuff, okay, we should be aware of that. Yes. If we know, for example, that Elon Musk came from wealth, then we can take into account certain things that he said. But also, if we know that Elon Musk said he went through abuse by his mom, then we understand that caring for people and being cared for is something that has not been fluent in his persona. Okay, so maybe we can be more compassionate towards him, but also maybe we can hold him accountable for the times where he is perpetuating certain behavior that he shouldn't be doing. Okay, now you are becoming this Elon Musk. You are becoming this leader. You are becoming this figure. It's very prominent. And Aries for 10th houses mean you are the head of something. You're getting ahead in life. So this is the final bump on the road. It's radical acceptance of everything 8th house related by you. At some point of view, people will discuss this. So you might want to watch other leaders in the past, how they dealt with that, tend to that, do like a run, okay, with maybe your partner. Be prepared. It is not, you cannot completely prepare for that. You kind of be prepared for that. Things are going to come up. People are not going to always see you. in a way that you desire for them to see you. There's a limit to how much you can control your image, okay? Even if you are Beyonce. When Beyonce took out Renaissance, okay, she had everything was like everything, you know, it was Uranus Taurus. So many times she had to change up the lyrics, then Khalees wasn't happy, then this one wasn't happy, then Badu wasn't happy, and she was like, Badu, I'm not copying you, I'm paying homage to you, and I'm plagiarizing you, Badu, okay? And then, you know, kind of like all the witchcraft came up, again, it's like, oh, these dancers are no longer, oh, that dancer was bestie, and now she's not really, and so on and so forth. Very much a part of life. Now we talk about the last lunation. Last lunation of this month, February 24, full moon in Virgo. Easy. The moon is in your 3rd house. The sun is in your 9th house. Okay? Jupiter, the ruler of the sun, mitigating this in the 11th. 3rd house, Mercury in your 9th house. There is some sort of a revealing of something. I don't know, revealing of what type of car you drive. But this Mercury is also ruling your 12th house. So, and Venus is very close to Mars in your 8th. And this is where some intimate detail can be revealed even by you. Okay? Because the moon here is opposing this Mercury. Okay? It's going to be like a lapsus. Again, it's a culmination of something. We do have the moon opposing Sun and applying to oppose Saturn. So there can be something that you feel criticized, and here it's criticized by Saturn is representing your partner or intimate partner, or like an open enemy or something like that. You have those. And so you could be a little criticized. And again, the vicinity of Mercury, it can be about a word, a concept. But this will soon change. Okay, Mercury is about to conjunct the Sun, it's a very closing issue. Okay, it's not a pleasant one because you are ruled by this moon. So you're personally going to feel scolded by this, you know, by the Saturn figure, which is a very intimate figure in your life. If your partner is kind of like a teacher to you, it could be scolding you a little bit. But this Jupiter, you know, the ruler is in the 11th house, and Venus is up there with Mars squaring the ruler. So I think it's more like, you know, when a person rises, they can be a little bit cocky. The double entendres on these episodes. They can be a little bit cocky. And your partner might be a bit scolding you for being a little bit cocky. So, again, it's just a full moon. It's kind of like bittersweet, but you can let it go later. Because it's the moon will be applying to Saturn after the full moon, but it will be releasing already. So the actual criticism, it can be something that you know, you say something, and again you're either in the media or even if it's like, you know, you're CEO of some company, you say something and then it reaches to your spouse, And after that, she kind of talks to you one-on-one. She's a bit scolding you, like, you shouldn't be saying that, you shouldn't be doing that by now. It was a little bit cocky, and you feel like, but it's transient. Okay, it's just like, okay, you are self-aware by now. Saturn's been doing a little while in your nine, so you know this. I shouldn't be saying that. I was very excited. Blah blah blah. Of course, in such a peak moment, and it's still new. Okay, it's still new. The eclipses with Rahu in Aries, they're still new. Of course, I went too far. Rahu, okay, Rahu Chiron, and you release that. Okay, you're decreasing that. This also could be both the scolding and the activity could be decreased. Okay, what you've been scolded for, but at this moment of fruition, there's a little bit of kind of like, this always has to be this something. Yeah, there is always this something, we rise to fame in our life, we have a big success, and then we say something wrong. It's natural. It's natural for it to happen, but you're gonna feel like particularly scolded because you are ruled by this moon. And Moon in Virgo is petty. Okay, so one of your siblings could be petty, and neighbors could be petty. But because this Mercury is also ruling the 12th house, then it can be that you undermine yourself in some sort of communication, and that is where you have to see what's in there. And that was where this is coming from. But all in all, it happens. It is culminating and releasing. What you need to understand is that after the reveal, Moon is applying to Saturn, but it's going to be perfecting after the new moon. So something is revealed. You thought, like, I dealt with this, and then boom, your partner is like, oh, but I didn't think about that. Okay, because this is coming from like your 12th being involved here too. So you say something is revealed, your partner scolds you. This is the order. Now that you know this, we talked about everything Cancer this month. And this has been 2 hours of talking about everything Cancer this month, which makes me think like, oh, I should really be getting paid for that. And if you are so kind and found this helpful, and I do have a PayPal, I'm going to write it in the description. When I get to a threshold of like donations made to me, then I'm going to take care of the legal business of having a business internationally. So yes, if you wonder about readings, like I said, Uranus is in my third. I could not be sitting in an appointment with even the Pope. But I am doing this podcast and I can be receiving money for that. So thank you for watching.